Hello, I'm Vanda. I'm a senior lecturer in Human Resources Management at UWI Bristol. So this was the team we had this project with. So Dr. Anna Hadji-Michali from Bath and Miss Lucy Downs from UWI. So very briefly, so these were our initial aims and objectives. People from Ignite know the adventures we had with this project. So I've put in bold what we ended up doing. So it was to explore the barriers and enablers that neurodivergent energy researchers face in progressing their careers. We also wanted to explore the views of line managers, neurotypical and neurodivergent, and our views of HR professionals. HR professionals didn't reply to our emails. Very inclusive behaviors. Very proud of the sector. And line managers were trickier to get hold of. Again, very inclusive practices here. So the plan A, as I said, we had huge support from Ignite, Ofgem, Tide, engineering. I haven't had so much support in my research life. But many academics did not even reply to our emails, which is indicative, okay? So I emailed colleagues from, chairing research centers and so on. I don't know if it was because of the project, because I'm Greek, because I'm from UWI, but I was not worthy of the reply. We wanted to do focus groups, very tricky because people did not disclose to anyone. We ended up doing semi-structured interviews. This is what we managed to get hold of. Neurodivergent researchers, most with ADHD. We had only 2 autistic participants, and the rest were basically dyslexic and ADHD. 4 neurodivergent line managers, 1 at C-suite level, 1 neurotypical line manager, and 3 HR professionals from the same organization, okay? So very briefly, in terms of PhD students, okay, so what was very crucial was their supervisors, no surprise there, but this was particularly important for them. So all actually the students with ADHD were diagnosed during their PhDs. This was not picked up before. And this was due to the difficulties they had to manage their projects, and because one of the supervisory team happened to have ADHD as well. Now, those with positive experiences happen to have neurodivergent supervisors with the same condition who could understand and support them. Those with very negative experiences, and there were a few, had supervisors who did not understand their interdisciplinary way of approaching energy research. And I wanted to highlight this because all of them had very different approaches to energy problems. Okay, so they all saw the problem more holistically. They started from a sector, but then they expanded. Nobody could get it, and they were, forced to try to narrow down. In terms of ECRs, just put the blame on neoliberalism. So this was the conclusion of my PhD. This is the conclusion of this project. So there was this huge pressure to publish in order to get a more permanent contract. They struggled to meet multiple deadlines. The supervisors put a lot of pressure on them to publish because they wanted to publish with them and do their PhDs and all that, and they were struggling. But thanks to their creativity, and I will stress that again, they were successful in securing funding. So obviously they went from one precarious contract to another, but they managed to secure their own, the money to move on. All academics now, like at all levels, we had professors, few but we had, so there is a huge stigma within academia, like it's a horrible environment. A participant said that most academics are sociopaths. I don't know if you identify. They aren't they? Like, I admit I've got many issues myself. But students are genuinely scared of me, I kick them out of the class, so there is something there. So there was one participant actually went twice to check if anyone was overhearing outside the office. Okay, so yeah, many of them, or most, haven't disclosed because there are a lot of discussions behind closed doors. So colleagues talked in a negative way about neurodivergent students, and then once they heard that, they said, I just keep it for myself. Lack of support, that I love this quote about sociopaths. And although they said there are quite good, reasonable adjustments in place for students, there aren't that many for academics. And they found ways, though, to work around it, but, not perhaps and they didn't even know what they might need. Different ways of working, similar with the PhD students. Colleagues didn't really get what they were doing. There were instances of harassment. A lady was crying during the interview, and I had to stop it because she was bullied by her line manager. As a UCU rep, I told her, go and file a grievance now. But that's a thing. But again, the thing is that there were instances of great creativity, and they secured funding, okay? The thing here is that they struggle to publish, but they get funding. So this is the thing. In the industry, things might be slightly better because there are more established HR structures in place. And neurodiversity has started, it's discussed a bit more openly than in the past, okay? So at the university, we don't acknowledge it. In the industry, it's a bit better. And the industry seems to be more accepting of different ways of working as long as there are results. Okay, so if the shareholders are happy, we are happy, fair and square. So at least you know what you are up to. So what are the implications for practice? So for research, like PhD researchers, I think it's really, really important to consider the supervisory teams, okay? So it's very important to have a more interdisciplinary team, and also I think to include academic support throughout, okay? So academics are not experts in pedagogy. We all work in our own way. Personally, I think my own way is the best, okay, and I can prove it, but I can't really impose it on anyone else. So we need support. Also raise awareness around neurodiversity and encourage actually and support different ways of working. There is a lot of scope of adopting and promoting learning technologies. For example, in the organization, we did the interviews with 3 HR professionals. They had all the software available to anyone, and they didn't have to justify why they need it or not. So it was easily accessible. Anything you need, you could just access it and problem sorted. And meaningful support with publications. Not just metrics, you have to publish 3 papers by the end of the year, otherwise I will fire you. Just give them some more support about how to do so. In terms of VCRs, again, mentoring, okay, so help them to identify funding opportunities and support with the admin part of things, potentially, and more support again about writing and publishing. But remember that one size doesn't fit all, so try to consider, like within like the writing team, who's doing what. And for higher education in general, I would say the main thing is, can we consider different ways of publishing and disseminating research? It is hard. I get it. I hopefully, I'm applying for promotion in September. I know I'm stressing about my publications, but I've done a lot for dissemination. But this cannot be captured anywhere, for example. And many other people are in the same position. So how can we make this part of our practice, okay? And support and acknowledge it. And also in terms of training, etc. Thank you.